It's that time of year again. Days are shorter, nights are longer, and we're all wondering, what kind of winter is ahead? The air feels crisper, the sun sets before dinner, and there's a sense of anticipation in the air. Will we see gentle flurries or powerful blizzards? Will this winter be mild? Or will it break records? These questions linger as we watch the first snowflakes fall. Every winter is unique, shaped by massive, shifting systems of wind and water temperature that act like gears in Earth's climate engine. These forces are always in motion, sometimes working together, sometimes clashing, creating the unpredictable patterns we experience each year. From the jet stream high above us to the ocean currents far below, countless factors combine to make each season different from the last. This year, the signals are pointing to something big, a major atmospheric event that could dramatically alter our weather for weeks or even months. Scientists are seeing unusual patterns in the data, hinting at the possibility of extreme cold snaps, heavy snowfall, and even sudden thaws. These changes don't just affect our daily lives, they can impact everything from travel plans to energy bills. Meteorologists are watching the polar vortex, a swirling mass of frigid air above the North Pole, because it's showing signs of a major breakdown. When the polar vortex weakens, it can send waves of cold air plunging southward, bringing Arctic temperatures to places that don't usually see them. This phenomenon can disrupt weather patterns across the globe, not just in our own backyard. If this happens, we could be in for a colder, snowier winter than we've seen in years. Imagine waking up to streets blanketed in white, schools closed, and the world transformed overnight. For some, it's a winter wonderland. For others, it's a challenge to stay safe and warm. Either way, it's a season that demands our attention and respect. Understanding the polar vortex is key to being prepared. Meteorologists use advanced technology and years of experience to track its movements, analyze its strength, and predict how it might affect our weather. By staying informed, we can make better decisions, whether it's bundling up for a cold snap or preparing for a major snowstorm. We'll explore what the polar vortex is, what happens when it weakens, and why this winter could be one for the record books. From historic blizzards to unexpected warm spells, the story of winter is always evolving. This year, the stakes are higher and the potential for surprises is greater than ever. So grab a hot cocoa, settle in somewhere warm, and let's dive into the science and secrets behind why every season is different, and what makes this winter so special. The polar vortex isn't science fiction, it's a real, ever-present whirlpool of icy air high above the Arctic. In winter, it's surrounded by powerful winds that keep the cold locked up north. When the vortex is strong, the jet stream flows smoothly, keeping Arctic air bottled up and our winters milder. But sometimes, those winds weaken and the vortex wobbles, stretching and distorting. This lets lobes of cold air plunge south, bringing Arctic chill to places like the US and Europe. The real drama comes when the vortex collapses or splits, unleashing that cold air far and wide. This winter, forecasters are watching for exactly that, a polar vortex breakdown that could bring winter roaring in. It's not just a cold snap, it's a pattern shift that can last for weeks. Let's see what triggers this dramatic event. The main trigger for a polar vortex collapse is a dramatic phenomenon known as sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW. This rare but powerful event can completely disrupt the usual flow of the atmosphere above the Arctic, setting off a cascade of changes that ripple down to the surface. During SSW, the stratosphere, an atmospheric layer sitting 10 to 30 miles above our heads, can heat up astonishingly fast, sometimes by as much as 90 degrees Fahrenheit in just a few days. This rapid warming is not gradual, it's a sudden, almost explosive transformation that can catch even seasoned meteorologists by surprise. The process begins when powerful energy waves, called Rossby waves, surge upward from the lower atmosphere. These waves, generated by disturbances like mountain ranges or strong weather systems, break into the stratosphere and release their energy, disrupting the stable, cold air that usually dominates this region. As this energy is released, it forces high pressure to build over the Arctic. This high pressure acts like a wedge, destabilizing the vortex's cold, low-pressure core and weakening the tight circulation that normally keeps frigid air locked in the polar region. The polar vortex's powerful winds slow dramatically, and in some cases, they can even reverse direction. The once cohesive vortex may split into two or more smaller vortices, or it can shift away from the pole entirely, sending cold air spilling southward. These dramatic changes start high above us, invisible to the naked eye. It usually takes a week or two for the effects of SSW to work their way down through the atmosphere and begin influencing the weather we experience at the surface. That lag time gives meteorologists a crucial window of opportunity. By monitoring the stratosphere, forecasters can spot the signs of SSW and warn that a major pattern shift is on the horizon, sometimes before any changes are felt on the ground. When SSW strikes, it's like tipping the first domino in a long chain reaction. The altered atmospheric patterns can trigger a series of winter storms, reshaping weather across entire continents and bringing snow, ice, and bitter cold to places that might not expect it. The result? The gates holding back Arctic air are thrown open, frigid air masses are set free, plunging southward and bringing dramatic temperature drops. This is how the coldest air from the Arctic invades the south, transforming mild winter days into icy, snow-filled events that can last for weeks. After a sudden stratospheric warming event, or SSW, shatters the polar vortex high above the Arctic, a dramatic chain reaction begins in our atmosphere. The polar vortex, which is usually a tight spinning band of cold air circling the North Pole, becomes unstable and starts to break apart. This disruption weakens the invisible barrier that normally keeps the coldest air bottled up far to the north. With the polar vortex fractured, Arctic air is no longer trapped in its icy prison. It spills southward, surging out of the Arctic Circle and making its way toward lower latitudes. This frigid air mass can travel thousands of miles, bringing a sudden and dramatic drop in temperatures to regions that are usually much milder. The jet stream, which typically flows in a relatively straight path from west to east, becomes wavy and buckled. These exaggerated waves, called troughs and ridges, act like conveyor belts, steering cold air south and warm air north. As the jet stream dips deeply over North America, it creates a highway for cold Arctic air to plunge deep into the United States, reaching as far as Texas and the Gulf Coast. These deep troughs funnel frigid air into the central and eastern states, causing temperatures to plummet well below average. Cities that rarely see snow or ice can suddenly find themselves in the grip of a deep freeze. The cold can linger, locking in for weeks, not just days. Persistent cold snaps can disrupt daily life, strain energy grids, and even impact agriculture and transportation. Meanwhile, the West or Alaska may experience unusual warmth and dry conditions, as the jet stream steers storms and cold air away from these regions, creating a stark contrast across the continent. Where the invading Arctic air collides with warmer, moist air from the south, the stage is set for major winter storms. These battles in the sky can unleash heavy snow, ice, and even blizzards. With the cold locked in place, the chances for significant snowfall rise dramatically, transforming landscapes and daily routines. This is how a polar vortex collapse can turn what started as a mild, uneventful winter into one that's truly memorable, sometimes even historic. The stage is set for big changes, and the atmosphere is primed for surprises. But what's making this year's setup so likely? Meteorologists are closely watching the signals in the upper atmosphere and the ocean, searching for clues. Let's look at the climate patterns aligning for this winter and see why experts think the odds of a dramatic polar plunge are higher than usual. This year, several major climate patterns are lining up for a polar vortex collapse. First, the quasi-biennial oscillation QBO is in a strong easterly phase, which weakens the vortex and boosts SSW odds. Second, La Niña, cooler Pacific waters, favors colder, stormier conditions across the northern U.S. When easterly QBO and La Niña combine, history shows a 92% chance of a major SSW and vortex breakdown. Third, the Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO, is shifting into its coldest phases for the U.S. by mid-December, supporting deep Arctic air intrusions. All three together create a powerful recipe for a cold, snowy outbreak. It's rare for these drivers to align so perfectly. That's why meteorologists are so confident in this winter's forecast. So, when will the big chill arrive? Here's the timeline. Models show the first major changes as early as late November. After a brief mid-November warm-up, the atmosphere is primed for a shift. Around Thanksgiving, the polar jet collapse is expected to begin, possibly bringing the season's first widespread snow to the plains and Midwest. This pattern is likely to lock in for the first half of December, with a persistent trough over the central and eastern U.S. An Alaskan ridge will help funnel Arctic air south, keeping temperatures well below average. Any storms moving through will have a high chance of producing snow, setting the stage for a white Christmas in many areas. The exact storm tracks are uncertain, but the cold, snowy pattern looks set to dominate. Winter is arriving early, and it's coming in strong. This isn't just one model's prediction. There's a strong consensus among global forecasting systems and meteorologists. European, American, and Canadian models all show a significant polar vortex disruption starting in late November. Stratospheric wind speeds are forecast to drop sharply, signaling the vortex's collapse is already underway. Severe Weather Europe and other experts confirm an early SSW is about to start, with cold and snow to follow. An early collapse means December could be dominated by cold, just as holiday travel ramps up. While local details will sharpen closer to the events, the big picture is clear. A widespread cold and snowy pattern is on the way. The message from models and experts is unified. Winter is making an early, dramatic entrance. So why is this forecast different from years past? You might think you hear this every year, but this winter's forecast stands out. The rare alignment of the easterly QBO, La Niña, and the MJO's coldest phases gives forecasters unusually high confidence. Decades of data show a near-certain link between these patterns and SSW events. The models aren't just guessing, they're tracking the step-by-step process: stratospheric warming, high pressure over the pole, and weakening vortex winds. This lets us see the cause before the effect, giving a 2-week head start on winter's arrival. It's a clear, observable mechanism, not just a hunch. That's what makes this forecast different and more reliable. With a colder, snowier winter likely, now's the time to prepare. Check your heating system and seal up drafts to keep your home warm and energy bills down. Ready your car. Check tires, antifreeze, battery, and pack a winter emergency kit with blankets, snacks, and a charger. Get your winter gear out: coats, boots, hats, and gloves, and dress in layers to stay safe from frostbite and hypothermia. Don't forget your pets. Make sure they have a warm place and limit their time outdoors. Understanding the science behind this forecast helps you take it seriously. Stay tuned to local forecasts for storm timing and temperature drops. A little preparation now means you can face whatever winter brings with confidence. Enjoy the beauty of winter from the warmth and safety of your home. Stay warm out there.